In 2022, on the Drink Champs podcast, Ye, formerly known as Kanye West, said that P-Diddy was a Fed. Now, this was such a big deal that Double XL, which is a hip-hop magazine, even said that Kanye West is going to war and is going to be using P-Diddy as an example. Ye even released text messages at the time where he calls him a Fed to his face, to where Puffy responds, "Send me your address, stop playing games, don't feel threatened." And Ye continued to poke the bear. Now, what we know about what is going on with the current case involving P. Diddy not only justifies Ye's claims that P. Diddy is indeed a Fed, but it actually sheds a ton of light to a lot of larger issues, questions, and power dynamics that exist within the entertainment world. I talk a lot about Ye because he really is a puzzle piece and an enigma that answers so many questions within the way that Hollywood entertainment and the music industry operates, not only in this realm of quasi-politics and power struggles, but also the esoteric fabric and the underpinning infrastructure that lies within. In this video, we are going to be exploring various aspects of Ye's relationship with P. Diddy in order to answer some questions about the music industry at large and to how it operates. I have done videos on P. Diddy in the past, and I've been talking about this gatekeeper of the industry for years now. I talked about P. Diddy years ago and how him dressing up as the Joker was actually a calling card and a tease at something much larger, which it ended up being. So if you would like more information, that is a great segue going into this P. Diddy video, go to my Patreon and you can watch the P. Diddy long theory where I give a ton of information on P. Diddy. But this video right here is going to clarify exactly what P. Diddy's role in the industry is. Many people think he is kind of this king or maybe even this sort of liaison, but I see him as more as a gatekeeper who has been working in cooperations with the feds for quite some time. Let's get into it. On July 2nd, 2025, there was a split verdict where Diddy was acquitted of the racketeering and sex trafficking charges, which were two of the more serious charges he is facing. But he was convicted on 2 counts of transporting individuals across state lines for prostitution, and these were for his alleged freak-off parties. Again, that stuff I have covered extensively in part 1. He was denied bond because he is seen as a flight risk. Before this arrest took place, he did fly to a small island somewhere. Again, covered this in a previous video. And he will have to remain incarcerated for the rest of his stay. Personally, I think that this is an optics thing, and I will get into why later. Now, what will come next in terms of these sentencings is they will proceed in October, where prosecutors will try to give him 4 to 5 years, some of them as high as 20 years. And he also faces tons of civil things. So basically, this is a partial legal victory for Diddy, but he does remain incarcerated. But how does this tie into what Kanye said about him in 2022 on the Drink Champs podcast? Basically, on this podcast, Kanye is quoted as saying, "P. Diddy's a Fed. I feel like Puff was sent by the feds." Now, this was said by Ye while he was on a rant about control, media manipulation, and how the entertainment industry acts as an arm and extension of the surveillance state, and that it operated this way for elite power structures. Now, what he accuses Diddy of being is very interesting because many people see Diddy as this king, as this guy who's at the top. But what Kanye describes is basically a handler type figure. He shows up in people's lives and he sort of maneuvers them around. Think about Biggie Smalls, prime example. Now, this is a very specific accusation, and it shows that Diddy isn't just in the system, but he is a part of the system. And when you are a part of a system, you have to operate as if you are a part of that system. Think about a clock and the machinations of how a clock works. All the gears in a clock turn and operate in the same way at the same times, doing the same things repetitiously. If we look at the way Diddy operates as being a part of a system, he has to operate in this same way. If you are not operating within the machinations of the larger device you are within, you become a problem. And the beginning of this problem was in 2023 when P. Diddy filed a discrimination lawsuit against Diago.
Back of the mind, I'm in the back of the car all the time. Perfect time. I'm in the back of the car doing cocaine. She's in the
A multinational company that partnered with him and Ciroc and De Leon Tequila. Diddy claimed that Diago was racist in their business dealings and that they treated him like a token and refused to properly market his tequila brand. Claimed that the company sabotaged his success because he was a black entrepreneur and he was trying to take real ownership within the liquor industry. Now, what's interesting is all of these raids began to happen to P. Diddy right after he went public about this. The federal raids began, the sex trafficking allegations started, and civil suits began flooding in. It's almost like he tripped a silent wire. And I personally believe that this is really a part of the problem. This lawsuit was the tripwire to everything that followed. His freak-offs have been going on for 30 years. Diddy's reputation is known so well within the entertainment industry that him being a part of movies like Get Him to the Greek, where he's rubbing the furry wall and talking about a Jeffrey and trying to literally sodomize Jonah Hill, is an inside joke amongst entertainers, actors, musicians, and movie stars. The joke is that we don't get the joke. We see this funny tycoon being funny and weird. He's actually like that in real life. The joke is for the actors, it's not for us. And when you threaten a multi-billion-dollar liquor monopoly, not a company, a monopoly, you fucked up. Especially when and if you are working in cooperation with the feds, as Ye is stating, something Ye would know. Ye has been working with handlers for a long time. Mr. Pasternak is a great example of this. And as I said prior, when you are working within the machinations of a machine, you better do your part and be the gear spinning the way it's supposed to. Now let's really think about this and really break this down. Diddy has been accused of multiple people for decades of all of the various things that he was just suddenly implicated on. If he is a Fed, as Ye states, one of the ways he would avoid being implicated is if he was an informant and he was given protection for giving up on others. His home is raided shortly after the Diago lawsuit, which is a retaliation by corporate political elites. He is convicted of relatively lesser charges despite disturbing allegations. This could be a possible plea bargain or a silent deal taken behind the curtain of public knowledge. Ye calls him a Fed in 2022 before any of this goes down because he knows what's going to happen. And remember, Ye has a habit of predicting the future. I'm so sorry to be this guy, but Ye is very rarely wrong. Everything he says comes to pass in one way or another in some strange or roundabout way. And we're going to get more into that in a moment. But also let's notice how Diddy hasn't turned on any political elite figures. Without some sort of prior plea bargain, why would he not be given the option to out other large figures? Now, like in the Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell case, Ghislaine is still giving names, apparently. Why would Diddy not be given this same option? And if so, why would Diddy not be giving these names? One option is that he possibly still has ties, is being shielded, or if the plea bargain that he's already working within does not require him to do so. Now, according to what Ye and what others are saying, is that P. Diddy is essentially a made man of the industry, and he rose to power because he played ball with the feds and with the elites. But when he sued Diago, he bit the corporate hand that feeds him. He lost all of his media allies and the public mood shifted against him. And like I said prior, this is when he tripped the floodgates. He was no longer operating within the larger system, and he became the sacrificial offering to preserve the illusion of justice that now has to be upheld. This is a public ritual to show that even powerful men can fall. This is what hides the real machinations behind the machine, which begs the question then. If Ye thinks he's a Fed, and if he is a Fed, and he sort of tried to buck the system and win off the grid, then why is Ye now coming back to his defense and saying free puff? Well, that's exactly why. Because P. Diddy is essentially bucking the system. And I use that word intentionally, mind you, because P. Diddy is trying to operate outside of the guise of the machinations of the system as a whole, due to what P. Diddy feels like is racial prejudice and racial injustice and is civil injustice being done to him. When we look at other prominent black figures within the entertainment industry, we can see the same things that have been going on really since the dawn of the entertainment industry. And we will get into those examples in a moment. But we have to think about what Ye has been saying since day one of him being in the music industry and being a prominent figure. Kanye said, "I burned 8 billion just so I could take my chains off." Is constantly talking about new slaves and how black entertainers are looked at as slaves within the music industry. He ties these themes to things like minstrel shows and songs with other heavy racial undertones such as Blood on the Leaves, Black Skinhead, etc. Ye has always outwardly spoken up for the black community, and sometimes he does it in extreme ways, just like how he's done recently with the HH stuff. In Ye's mind, what he's doing is he is getting back at the people that he sees at the top of the music industry. He feels like the industry and the people at the top of it exploit black pain by profiteering off of the problems within the black communities, such as gang violence, etc. Ye has been outward about this ever since he said that George Bush doesn't care about black people. And Ye saying free Puff is him standing beside P. Diddy, not backing the things that he did, but as somebody who sees what's really going on. And it is somebody who is fighting against racial injustices rather than siding with somebody who may or may not be guilty of all of the things that he's done. Again, this is Ye's perspective on this. And Ye has prophetically been right about things in the past. And I'm sure in 5 or 6 years, people will probably be saying the same thing about this situation. Now let's look at this sort of media ritual to shame, ostracize, and publicly humiliate P. Diddy. Between April and June of 2024, the media ritual begins, and the headlines start to look a lot less like gossip and a lot more like ritual sacrifice. They gave him the full Cosby package, a full-on media crucifixion. Some outlets say that he's a drug lord, and others say he has tunnels under houses, so much so I've seen things that say he has tunnels under all of LA. Now he's sort of like Epstein meets the real Rick Ross. But notice this, no charges went on for months, and it was just a slow drip of stories. It was a social indictment, and this is what they do now. They don't need a courtroom any longer. These are social crucifixions that happen now, and this happens voraciously, constantly. It has happened to tons of people within the entertainment industry. But then a year later, in May 2025, the criminal charges are officially dropped. No racketeering, no Epstein level crimes. They hit him with 2 Mann Act violations, which is basically you cross state lines to do your freak-off party. And that is what brought down Bad Boy Records. This thing that we've known that he does. We've known about this. It's not him blowing up Kid Cudi's car. It's not the trafficking of pink cocaine, which I called years ago, and in fact tied to the death of Liam Payne, and I fully explained how Liam Payne's death had a lot more to do with trafficking of pink cocaine, etc., and how it was actually tied to this originally, and I actually ended up being right, and people tried to crucify me about it, but whatever, that's a different story entirely. It's not him doing anything else. That is what gets him this travel technicality. And then the verdict is dropped July 2nd. They acquit him of all of the big charges, the sex trafficking and racketeering. But he's convicted on these softball pimp charges. No RICO, no fucking RICO Suave, no fucking racketeering. Just fucking, he doesn't have his travel papers. Where's ICE? Where are we gonna get ICE involved because of it? And then they just leave him in jail for a little bit longer so the public kind of forgets about it. And the public's like, well, he's still in jail, right? Because imagine if he got out of jail, right? The people would be freaking out if he got out of jail. So what is the real theory here? That Puff has been in the Fed's corner for decades. He was protected. He's plugged in. He is a handler. He handles people. He handled Biggie. He handles all these people. He also gets them on blackmail. He brings them to these freak offs. He lubes them up. They fall fuck each other. Kanye said it. Suge Knight whispered it, okay? And the moment he went against somebody actually powerful, the Diego Liquor Company, the white corporate overlords, and the spirit of the fucking world flipped the switch, and they said, no, no, no. So Diddy wasn't taken down by the feds. Diddy is a fed who was sacrificed by them in order to appease the machine, so the machine keeps rolling. The people say, hey, Diddy got his justice. He went to court about it. They used him up, and now they're cleaned up right after it. They put it on TV, they call it justice, and they wait for the next one to fall. And remember, around the same time, okay, we had the Jay-Z thing. The Jay-Z thing was ramping up too. Jay-Z had a big allegation. Everybody started to think it was this whole thing. All these TikTok videos of Jay-Z's Onyx ring is actually a camera and he's actually filming everybody, which may or may not be true. But guess what? Jay-Z's not suing these liquor companies. Jay-Z is not rocking the boat. Jay-Z understands he's a part of the system. Kanye sees how Puffy is like him and is not a part of the system. And you got to think too, Ye coming to his defense, Ye knows the script. And he didn't just mean that P-Diddy was a fed. He meant he was a fed. He's a part of the system fed. But when Puff tried to act sovereign, when he tried to sue the white-owned liquor conglomerate, that's when the problems are going to start. And who are some other people that have done these same things? Michael Jackson, Bill Cosby, Tory Lanez. Now, their bucking the system looks very similar. And if we run the things that happened to them alongside this and compare it, it's really, really similar. There's not much of a difference. So let's get into that and compare them with this. If you would like to see the rest of this, it is on my Patreon. The link is below, and I have tons of other videos just like this where I break all of this down and it is fully sourced. I source every single thing I say, and it is all backed with fact. I do offer free trials as well, so you're not just paying out of pocket immediately. But if you are interested, let's go. I'll see you there.
Back of the mind, I'm in the back of the car all the time. Perfect time.